Hello everyone, this is LW Gaming and welcome to the re-upload of Dead or Alive 6 major update. And we're going to take a look at what's going to be added in a few days from now. And this is a re-upload from the last video because I noticed there was like a one fatal mistake I cannot like fix just by doing the pinned comments alone. So I decided to re-upload this as a whole. So hopefully this version of the re-upload will be a bit shorter, unlike before where it's like 40 minutes long, and I don't think anyone would want to enjoy that long of the video. But anyways, I'll always timestamp them if I need to. I mean, I always have to because, in case those of you want to skip to a specific section. So anyways, let's get right into it without wasting any more time. So first up, we got Kasumi. Her factions are Protagonist, Meteor Strike, and Time, Heroes of Time. And then the class she's part of are Assassin, which is just only one class route. So that means you don't need runestones for these three characters. So just the heads up. And also for the description and the talent, like on the talent and skills, like their names be specific. It may not match with the global version, so keep that in mind. So Mystic Miss Deity Style is her talent, and it increases her attack and defense by 10 to 25%, and her attacks do not get affected by melee damage penalty. So if you attack in close range, you'll still deal full damage, thanks to her talent. After dealing damage, inflicts a stagger on the enemy, and this will prevent them from guarding, and you cannot attack first before the enemy. So even if you have the effect where you attack first, that will get neutralized. So yeah, if you're fighting against like Sakura or anybody that does like a first strike, yeah, those characters would not be able to do first strike. So this kind of reminds me of another character from the collab lineup, which is Sonya. She also does like a negating first strike as well, and also I think Rensho does that too, but with her exclusive, or maybe her casting. I don't know either one of those two. So, anyways, anyway, this is a really nice effect on Kasumi, and you cannot dispel it either way. So yeah, if you try to dispel it, you won't be able to get rid of it. When actively attacking and entering combat, if the enemy has stagger effect, they cannot counterattack and will be afflicted with stun for one turn after combat. That sounds pretty dirty, but the only thing that can prevent this from being applied to your units is by, of course, having a character that can negate the debuffs, such as Ilya, Rosenseal, and also Gospel effects. So yeah, if you have those characters, you're pretty much okay to deal with her because she won't be doing much besides from applying staggers, because staggers is treated as a debuff, not the mark, by the way, which means that she's gonna be somewhat helpless against this situation. So do I think she's good in PvP? It just really depends whether if your opponent brought the units that can like prevent debuffs or not. Anyways, these are her skills she comes with. They are Divine Steps, which is her 1C skill. This one allows her to move, teleport to the, actually not move, like teleport, it's just mostly move to the empty block or a unit in the forward direction. This will cause the effect of displacement on herself, which will make her move to the target position. After use, Kasumi can move 2 blocks and attack again. This move effect ignores immunity. When moving this way, it is considered as flying, kind of like Lostom's grapnel hook. After using this skill, the buff duration will not be decreased. And then her 2C skill, Divine Palm, 3 turn cooldown, 1 block, single target. And it does attacks 1 enemy as usual, dealing 1.4 times damage and inflicting the damage taken plus 20% to the enemy for 1 turn. If the enemy has stagger, inflicts defense minus 30% to the enemy after combat for 2 turns. And her 3C is called Chaotic Sakura Bloom, 4 turn cooldown, 1 block, single target. And when fighting an enemy with stagger, Kasumi gains damage taken minus 30% and attack plus 30%. When physical, and this one does physical damage, like all these does physical except for the 1C, because it's mostly as an active skill, it's not an attack skill. Attacks one enemy dealing 1.6 times damage. If the enemy has stagger, this skill will attack twice in combat. After combat, if there are enemies within 3 blocks around, can act again. Otherwise, the cooldown of this skill will be reduced by 3 turns. and these two effects will share the same cooldown, and this can be activated again after 2 turns. So this one is really a huge thing to have if you got Kasumi 3C unlocked, and she will do a lot more for you. But be aware that you're gonna need to have like the stagger on the enemy to make this fully effective. Otherwise, it would just be a typical 1C, 3C single target skill, which doesn't do much outside of this. Next up, we got Nyotengu, and there are some fixes I need to do with this one. And the matter of fact that Nyotengu is not strategic, but is a princess faction. So her factions are Princess, Mythical Realm, and Heroes of Time, and she is a flyer class, just like any other characters in the game. I mean, in the Guyver universe, or with the collab I'm going to talk about right now, which is DOA6. These characters only has one class route, like I already mentioned earlier in the video. So I'm going to explain again in case you guys forgot about that already. And this is a Skyward Dance. What this is that it attacks in the attack and defense is increased by 10 to 25%. If Nyotengu is on defensive terrain at the end of the effect or skill used this turn, restore 50% to 30% HP and gain Skyward Dance. And this will increase her mobility by 2, and she can pass through enemies while moving and reducing damage taken by 50%. And this effect will be lost if she takes damage, or when she's attacked, enter combat, and takes damage. Yeah, any of these stuff that involves damage. And when you lose it this way, you can get it back after 1 turn. And this effect lasts for 2 turns, and it cannot be dispelled. Yeah, this buff is really nice on her, like which means she will be able to move further with this buff. But as long as you don't get hit, that is, because once you get hit, you will lose it. And then these are the skills that she comes with that are unique to her. Previously, the 1C skill that was mentioned here, it is not a unique skill because Claret Ares also have these skills. So I might as well considering fixing that on Lang Wiki in a later time. But for now, these are the 4 skills I'll be showing here. So the first one we got Typhoon, and funny enough, in Banner News, they translate this word as Taiwan, which is the country's name, which is kind of a strange translation there. But anyways, I mean, CN translating work is not that easy. Just so you know. Anyways, Typhoon is the word I going with because that's what it is when it comes to the southeast like windstorm, whatever that one is called. Like they call it typhoon. So that's what that really is. And active use, and this one gains Neo will gain attack plus 20% and Typhoon effect. And what this does that after actively dealing damage, deal 0.1 times AoE damage to all enemies within 1 ring around herself. And this will cause teleport to all enemies hit. And what this does is that it shuffles them around to random locations. But of course, I don't know how far would they be teleported away, but anyways, this is a really interesting one, and this will last for 2 turns, and you can take another action after use. The mobility of this additional action is equal to the remaining mobility when using the skill, and can attack again. And then after using the skill, the buff duration will not be decreased. Okay. And then the 2C skill is Kuma Claw Prayer Beads. It's a 3-turn cooldown, 1 block, single target. And what this does, it attacks one enemy, dealing 1.5 times damage. After combat, inflicts damage taken plus 20% to the enemy for 2 turns. If Nyotengu has Skyward Dance, the damage multiplier will increase to 1.8 times, and the enemy will be afflicted with stun for 1 turn. Man, stuns for days. Like, so far we covered the heroes in this installment is that these guys are capable of stunning enemies. And oh my goodness, the stun meta might actually be coming. But I mean, stun is actually a powerful debuff, by the way. If you weren't like paying attention to the meta currently. But now we're getting more heroes with stuns. My goodness, this is gonna get crazy. But of course, there are ways to like counteract against those. It's by, of course, immune against them with like many things like Ban and Rashi. But of course, most people use Ban and Rashi on tanks. But it's just based on their preference whether they want to do that or not. And then the 2C skill called Swarming Locrus? I apologize if I actually misspelled it. But anyways, It's a 3-turn cooldown, 4 blocks, and it's a 1-line AoE. And this one attacks all enemies in a straight line, 4 blocks long, dealing 1.4, not 1.4, 0.4 times AoE damage. Like, honestly, if I say 1.4 AoE damage, that would be absolutely nuts. So, no, it's 0.4. When attacking, Nyotengu teleports to the farthest position of the skill range, or in front of the closest enemy in range and causes displacement, and this will push the enemies back by 2 blocks. If there are other units or impassable terrain along the direction, the enemy will be afflicted with stun for 1 turn. Man, another stun in the effect? Oh my goodness. And I gotta be honest, this skill can be pretty dangerous in many situations. So like the enemy will get like a stun if it hits something along the way. Like it doesn't matter if it has impassable terrain or another unit in the position of the in the direction of where it was being pushed. That stun is gonna get affected, which is absolutely nuts. And then finally her 3C skill called Floral Kagura. 3-turn cooldown, 1 block, single target. Attacks a single enemy, dealing 1.7 times damage. Dispels 3 enemy buffs before combat, recovering HP equal to 20% of the damage dealt after combat, and gaining command. And this one increases, like all enemies within 2 blocks are afflicted with mobility -1 and cannot guard. Kind of like Grand Shield's situation there. And this will last for 2 turns. If Nyotengu has Skyward Dance, this skill damage dealt is increased by 20%. If the enemy is not killed, the cooldown of all skills will be reduced by 2 turns. Otherwise, if it does kill, it can move 4 blocks. So yeah, Nyotengu is a force to be reckoned with out there. Do I think she's good in PvP? It just depends what team you're running, because she's best suited for like rush comp, but yeah, mostly rush comp, but could also fit in with AoE rush teams. But here's the thing, she is more capable of doing single targets over AoE. But you can start her in any of those rush teams, like no problem. But of course, you need to make sure she synergizes with your team. And finally, we got Marie Rose. Her factions are Princess Alliance, Meteor Strike, and Heroes of Time. Just like any other collab units in the game, Heroes of Time is a home for collabs. And her class is Infantry, just singular class route. And her talent is called Systema. Attack and defense is increased by 10 to 25%. After using the skill to attack the enemy, displacement will be applied to the enemy, knocking the target back by 3 blocks. If there are other units or impassable terrain in the way of the knockback, displacement will be applied again, knocking the enemy back by the remaining knockback blocks. Each time displacement is applied by the unit, Marie Rose gain 1 stack of dance preparation, which will be removed at the beginning of the round. At the end of the effect, 1 stack of dance preparation is consumed. The buff duration are not reduced, and she can move an additional 2 to 3 blocks depending on star level and attack again. If the effect has already been triggered this round, the amount of dance preparation consumed will double each time it is triggered, and it can be triggered up to 5 times per round. Yeah, you heard that right. Marie Rose is an Actigan monster. Like honestly, literally a monster. Like if you read this right, like her dance preparation stacks will actually make her enable to act again. And not just that, if the enemy team is like grouped up too close to each other and Marie Rose just AoE like in the middle of them, she's going to do a lot of damage with like 5 actions. Like honestly, this is absolutely nuts. I don't know if Zilong thinks this is very overpowered, but of course there's some catches though, because each time you activate this, the consumption of dance preparation will be doubled each time. So yeah, pulling this off will not be easy. So just for balancing, of course. And let's move on to the next part, which is her skills. And apparently she has a lot of different skills here. So all these are unique. I did check before, and just to make sure that these ones are like not something that's like a repeat or whatever. But anyways, her one state skill is kind of like an insult name, which is like idiot 3 times in a loud tone. is a 3-turn cooldown, self ends a single target. And when in the passive is that when the displacement effect is applied to the enemy for the first time in each round, at the end of the effect can teleport to any position within 3 straight lines. And the teleportation is treated as the effect of displacement. And what this means is that if you have something like electric headwear, that will not work. So just to let you know, displacement is something you need to be aware of because even though it is only on yourself, even if you have the electric headwear, you won't be able to perform this. So be careful about that. Do not stand next to a character with the electric headwear or anything that prevents displacement because you do not want to mess this up. And then the active skill on here is that it recovers 30% of max HP. When there are enemies in the surrounding 4 blocks, gains 1 stack of dance preparation. So yeah, this skill is pretty is actually interesting to have. But of course, this is not an act against skill, so just be careful about using this. And then another Wednesday skill is called Wild Rose Curvy Hips, and this name might sound a bit sus because it's literally her attacking the enemy uh, using I let's just say it's not so friendly. Something has to do with her hips, by the way. It's a 3-turn cooldown, 4 blocks, 1 line AoE, and attacks all enemies in a straight line, 4 blocks long, dealing 0.1 times AoE damage. When attacking, teleports to the skill's farthest position. When hitting an enemy, gains 1 stack of dance preparation. Man, this skill sounds pretty nuts. And then her 2C skill called Autumn Moon Enchantress. 3-turn cooldown, self 1 ring AoE. And this does 0.36 times AoE damage to all enemies within 1 ring around her. If the enemy's position does not get displaced after the attack, dispels 1 enemy buff. And this will prioritize the dispel of like if they have like an immunity to displacement, this will be dispelled first before everything else. And also applies passive skill silence for 2 turns. This right here sounds pretty deadly. Like if the character was if the enemy was not get displaced due to the immunity or for a reason, one buff is going to get removed. But however, if they do have a buff that prevents displacement, that will be dispelled first. Kind of like dispel priority, for example. Fury of the Orange Rose, and this is a 3-turn cooldown, 1 block single target, and this does 1.6 times damage to 1 enemy. If Marie Rose has dance preparation, the enemy cannot perform counterattacks during combat. After combat, the enemy is afflicted with stun for 1 turn. Straightforward and deadly. And then her 3-6 skill is called Carnier. Well, not Kong, by the way. It's a 5-turn cooldown, 1 block, and it's a single target. When the displacement effect is triggered, there are other units. If there are other units or impassable terrain in the displacement direction, it will deal fixed damage equal to 1 times of Marie Rose's attack once. And the physical damage is that it does like 1.8 times damage to 1 enemy and dispelling 5 buffs. Kind of the Sword Soul like a deal. If the talent effect is triggered this turn, Marie Rose will attack first before the enemy, and damage that was increased by 15%, up to 30%, and during combat, and the cooldown of all skills is reduced by 1 turn. And this will reduce to 2 turns maximum. Anyways, this skill sounds absolutely crazy if you think about it, because the more you use this, the cooldown of your other skills will be reduced significantly. So what do I think about what enchants do these characters need? So I think Kasumi, I think she works best as let's just say Full Moon or even Breeze, just the 2 common enchants. And also same thing can be said for the other 2, like Nyotengu and Marie Rose. They work best on those ones. But if you want to be like really going in there and do some havoc with Marie Rose, I would suggest Clock enchantment. So to have a chance of getting all your cooldowns back immediately after use. Well, of course, the one specific skill, not all of them, by the way. Just a couple of ideas if you think about having Marie Rose build to be really annoying out there. Oh, I can already imagine how crazy she can be out there already, just by thinking about it. So, anyways, next up, let's talk about the new stuff, like the new SP soldiers. So, in this batch of update, we'll be getting Max Made as the one of the three new SP soldiers. So this one, what this is that it increases the soldier's attack defense and magic defense by 15%. The effect is double when fighting enemies with HP lower or equal to your unit's HP. Before entering combat, deals 5% of enemy's HP as fixed damage. If the enemy is in mixed forces, fixed damage can't be ignored. My goodness, this soldier actually is pretty good for many of you because, for one, these ones this was basically like a built-in drag effect for your units as long as you're able to use this soldier. And when you unlock this fully in the ultimate challenge, you'll be able to have Freya, Seraphina, Lostum, Leonhart, and Betty to be able to use this here to be able to use this soldier in advance, which is nice to see. Okay, next up we got is the SP soldier for Dragon Trooper. And what this does is that when having mobility buff, damage taken is reduced by 20%. Before attacking, for every one block moved, soldier's attack is increased by 10%, up to a max of 30%, before entering combat or ending action. If the unit has moved 3 or more blocks this turn, gains mobility plus 2 for one turn. And the additional heroes that can use this are Dragon Slayer, Kalena, Zion, Knight of Mystery, Apotheosis, and Tabris. This soldier is pretty nice for mobility control, of course. Like to get to the enemy side as fast as possible. And man, having this with Dragon Slayer, oh, good luck with that. This is absolutely crazy. Addition for Dragon Slayer. My goodness. I don't know how I feel about that because honestly, seeing Dragon Slayer able to use this SP soldier is, oh man, it's brain dead, absolutely brain dead. Oh god, I can already imagine how disgusting it's gonna be. Like Dragon Slayer flying up to your face immediately with that insane mobility. But of course, it depends on what kind of Dragon Slayer you're fighting against. Flyer is definitely crazy, but Demon, you could kind of counteract against that because he can fly like that. But anyways, you get the idea. And finally, we got Miss Dancer, probably one of the, I would say a decent one, but this does not have ultimate challenge, meaning no additional heroes will be able to use this. So yeah. Anyways, her SP soldier skill is that it increases the crit of 45%, attack is increased by 15% when fighting non-female heroes. Applies one random debuff before combat. When a crit is scored, applies another one random debuff to the enemy after combat. It's just simple and sweet, but no additional heroes will be able to use this. So if you unlock this one, then great. Don't think this is a waste of investment, but it's a nice upgrade for Miss Dancer anyways. And now let's move on to the banners. What we'll be expecting here. So, anyways, first week we'll be expecting Nyotengu and Marie Rose debuting here, which is which is somewhat expected because I mean every first week there will be new heroes in the game. So, yeah, no surprise there. And on week 2 we got Tiana, Saintess of the Ark, and they're along the two wish banners, like a wish banner for the Langrisser 1, 2, and 3 heroes. And then the mobile 1 and 2, I think these ones will be shuffled around like in different places. So keep in mind that these banners may not be in the same lineup as as in CN. So just keep that in mind. And then there's also the on week 3 we have Nomi and also Lightbringer, along with the Destiny banner featuring Rosenseal, Tyrantel, and Isolde. And also keep in mind about those banners, like I said earlier, some will get shuffled around. Like even the banners that have already like featured, like these ones like raid ups and Destiny banners, these ones may switch for global, so beware of that. And then the wish banner for Lancer 4 and 5 will be on this week as well. And then for week 4 we have Transcender, Leo Beck and Paul Y'all, and then we also have Lana, Rachel, and Tiaris as the other Destiny banner. And then the wish banner for this week is going to be Tensei Heroes for week 4. And I gotta say, this lineup is pretty strong for like the first like for the first 2 weeks, or maybe 3 weeks, depending on which one you're looking at. Okay, moving on, let's talk about some stuff here. So, what events, what changes to expect here? So, Dead or Alive 6 collab event is going to be part of this, of course, and this is where you get Kasumi for free. And on top of that, beware of the Eternal Forge event starting in this update, which means we'll be getting ourselves some new gear for us to have. And then for the changes, this was planned in CN, but we got this early in advance. So these are the ones that we got already. So we have the auto select 6 heroes and go sweeps. And by the way, this only applies when you're doing solo sweeps. I don't know why they didn't even include this for team sweeps, but I don't know. But I mean, a lot of people go for solos now because it saves some time. But to those who are like below level 70, then oh my goodness, I don't know how I feel about that because you won't be able to sweep them by yourself because you need to be level 70 to completely sweep it. If you're doing like a catastrophic difficulty, that is. And they're going to be improving the Apex matchmaking, which will basically you won't be able to match with players that are not within your league. So, like for example, you won't be able to match someone that's like higher or lower than you anymore. Instead, they'll be prioritizing the players based on the league you're in, of course. But if that's not possible, then the old rules will be taking priority, where you will be matching with anyone that's in the queue, regardless of the skill level, to probably like speed up the wait time. And then the scoring will also going to be improved as well. So now in Apex Arena, winning matches will give you more points. But however, if you lose, you won't be losing much points like before. So that's a nice change of pace. So Zilong really wants every Apex player to like get to the top league as like faster than usual, like as fast as possible, instead of just being stuck down there and then not getting much points after winning. So yeah, that could create frustrations for some players. But it's not that they're gonna try to increase the points here. Maybe that's already life right now, but anyways, we'll have to see because anyways, we also got the rewind additional rewind chances in mid battle in PvE modes. By the way, this does not include team battles, only like single player battles, which is pretty nice. And I think we already got everything we have here. So let's move on to the next part, which is a new confession and exclusive. So the new exclusive we got this time is Tiana, which is her headwear. HP is increased by 10% when entering combat instead of an ally with Protect. Tiana gains the preemptive Blade Strike effect with 2 turns. When an enemy with the Solo Striker effect dies, inflict Solo Striker effect to the random enemy within 2 blocks of the defeated enemy. And oh man, that is pretty nuts. Absolutely nuts. And then we have a new confession for Ilya, which is I mean previously we got Alia and now we got Ilya, which I guess makes more sense because she is a twin sister after all. Kind of like Liana and Lana. Okay, moving on, let's talk about the new casting skills coming in this update. So we got Saintess of the Ark finally getting her casting in this update. And which basically increases her int by 10%. After using her 1C skill, which is called like conversion skill, and which will allow her to move 2 more blocks and attack again. So now that 1C skill went from just a transforming skill into a transforming plus act again skill. It's a nice upgrade for Saintess because with how she worked originally, it's just not great. Having this buff on her is actually good. It's very good for her. That's what I'm trying to say essentially. And next up, we got Van. Van from Trails Through Daybreak collab, or I should say Kuno Kiski. Uh, he's getting casting here. Attack and defense increased by 5%, and the chain strike's duration is increased by 1. When chain strike is applied on an enemy, there's a 50% chance to apply another stack of chain strikes on the enemy. And this one is short and straightforward. And what I think about this upgrade, this could work pretty well for PVE. But do I think he's gonna be viable in PvP? Honestly, I don't think so. But it's just a crazy idea out there. And finally, before we close off this episode, a bit of a reminder of what's coming up next. And the next update is going to be featuring Serena, which is Enya's evil sister, to be exact. Or I should say, just a sister as a whole. And she is a new faction buffer for Dark Reincarnation. And spoiler alert, she is a must pull for PvP. If you've been playing PvP lately, you may want to pick her up because she is crazy out there. Like where she will buff dark units. And I kind of feel my alt account is gonna love this because as of lately with the addition of Randall and Hibby, or I should say Broken Wing Bird, yeah, my alt is gonna go in really big with the new additions. Anyways, that's about it for this video. Hope y'all find this video helpful or informative. And also, this one is shorter than the last episode, so thank God for the time shortening. But anyways, see y'all next time.